All right, welcome back to BP Builds. Here we are at the junkyard again. Very snowy today. All I want to do today is try and make some progress on the supercharger swap. So what could I be doing at the junkyard in the middle of the winter to try and do that? Well, I'm thinking of an idea that I had where in order to keep making progress on my car, I really hate to take the car off the road. I'd have to take the car off the road. I'd have to do measurements on the engine, figure out the placement of the supercharger, figure out an idler pulley, figure out what I'm going to do for a belt and things like that. So I'm thinking, as opposed to taking my car off the road, why don't I just buy a whole nother engine? Where I'm at the junkyard, they want $280 to pull an engine. That's the engine pulled, which that's not that bad. Plus, I could probably sell the engine for that much money, or worst comes to worst, just scrap it and get a little bit of money back. So there's a couple engines here. This is an 06 Mercury Grand Marquis. The engine is pretty much complete, but it's missing the alternator. I want the whole serpentine setup. It's got the power steering bracket, and it's got, is the AC compressor still on it? Yes, it is. So this would be a viable candidate, except it doesn't have the alternator. Let's take a look at another car. They have an 04 Grand Marquis down here. All right, so here we are at the 04. This one looks to be a complete engine. It's got the alternator on it still. Like I said, I don't even care if the engine runs. It's got the alternator, it's got the AC compressor, fuel rails, everything is here. I wonder if I should do this, but I'm worried that what's the difference between the 04 and the 2010? So let me maybe do a little bit more research, but it looks like the intake manifolds are the same for an 04 and a 2010. This car's only got 92,000 miles on it. I mean, crap, even if I just bought this engine, it's complete. I know it doesn't have the drive-by-wire throttle on it. I'm torn. Should I buy the 04 or should I wait for a new one? Let's go look at the one more. There's one more here we can go look at. I think it's a 2009. We're looking for row 11. Row 11. Oh, we passed it. We passed it, I see. Hang on. Here's one. She ain't got no motor. Don't know what year this one was, but is it a Ford? Let's take a look. Locked. Can't see. The steering column. Oh, it's an old cop car. All right, this is an old Crown Vic. But the engine's gone. All right, here's a Mercury. I think this is an 06. Not sure. Let's take a look. We don't know. I think this is an 06. I'm pretty sure. Let's open what's left of the hood. Who the heck would take the thermostat? Really? They're like $4. So this one's got a little bit different valve covers on it, but I don't know. I'm partial to that Grand Marquis. Yeah, we're going to take a look at that 04 again. I think that's what I should get. There's another one at a junkyard. He wants $400 for it. And I have to drive about an hour and a half to go pick it up. And it's got 118,000 on it, or I can get this one. The valve covers on it are different, but I don't really care about that. I guess I'm thinking, what would I do with this engine when I'm done with it? Could I potentially run this engine? It has about 60,000 miles less on it than mine. If I'm going to get the engine out of it, I'll throw a timing set on it, and maybe I could even run this engine. All right, I talked to the checkout girl. She wants me to put this orange cone on the car, and I have to get make, model, color, put my name and number. Ideally, I'd like them, whoops, this way. Ideally, I'd like them to leave the whole front of the engine on. I want the pulleys, I want the belt, I want the alternator, I want the AC compressor, I want the power steering pump. You know, I want all that. I don't want them taking it off. So I'm going to try and ask them to leave all of that. I mean, I really don't care if this engine runs, really. But I guess if I'm going to be doing this, why not do it? You know, so let's fill this out and see. All right, so I ended up telling them I wanted that motor. They charged me $271.27 with a 30-day warranty. So 3 to 5 days they should have it pulled. So I'm thinking today's Monday, so maybe by Friday or the weekend I'll get that engine. I left a note on the paper if they can include the serpentine setup on the front end, but we'll see what they do. I mean, I really hate to. I want those parts because it'll help me it'll help with the belt orientation. You know, as far as belt alignment. Because that's kind of the whole point in me doing this is I want to mock up the supercharger on the engine so I know where to put it, where to mill out the holes, where to drill the holes, where to put the heel coils and stuff like that, so I can get the supercharger in the right location when I go to bolt the intake on. But we'll see what they do. 271, that's not bad. The motor's only got 92,000 miles on it. And it was, I didn't take a picture of it, but it was T-boned on the back passenger side door. So the alternator and the intake manifold are the same on an 04 or 2010. So I'm thinking for our purposes it shouldn't matter, but I mean, it's paid for. They got my money, so I mean, I'm committed to this engine. I figure that's probably the simplest and the cheapest. I mean, 270. I mean, for an engine that they pulled, we'll see. But I mean, all right. Well, this is what it's like to be a Mustang in New York in the wintertime. But they called me about that engine. I'm gonna go pick it up tomorrow. But I tried cranking the truck and it cranked, but it didn't start. So it's just got it on the charger. So I haven't driven this truck since November. It's never seen a winter. It just sits here. It's from Florida, so I like to take care of it. And it's got the 7.3 power stroke in it. Gonna let this charge overnight. All right, it's been on the charger overnight. Let's see if it'll crank. Crank up. I run the glow plugs a couple times and see if she'll start. Do it again. One more time. All right, cross your fingers. Cold out, it's about 20 degrees. Well, because I couldn't get my truck started, I rented this one for 20 bucks an hour. And the guy plopped the motor right in the back here. So we made it home, and now I have to unload this thing. They gave us the alternator and the power steering pump, but no belt and no AC compressor. So it looks like I'll need to find the junk AC compressor. But I got to unload this thing real quick, and maybe I'll show you when it's unloaded. But here we are. All right, luckily the engine hoist went high enough, and now we can pull it out. The engine was sitting right here. I just dragged it. Actually, the snow helped because it's slippery, and I just kind of dragged the engine into the garage. And now I got to go to Lowe's or Home Depot, and I got to get metric bolts to go in here. At least we got it inside, and now I just want to have it set up right here, and then that'll be fine for us to get the supercharger mocked up. All right, we got it on the stand. Mission accomplished. Didn't drop it or scratch anything, so now I think we can just give it a good once over and inspect it and kind of see. It's a little bit of a tight fit in here, but that's all right. We just really need to work on the front of the motor here, and I think my first step is just going to be maybe just clean it up and get the intake off. So just hooked it on here with a seat belt, but it's kind of covered in snow and ice right now. But it's 8 o'clock at night, and I'm gonna probably get out of here and maybe work on it over the weekend. Today's Wednesday, so I ordered the motor Monday afternoon, so it only took them 2 days to pull it. So, but here it is. But looks like they just cut the pipes off with a Sawzall, and they just cut all the wires with just snipped them off. Some shears, even cut the battery alternators. They got that motor out as fast as possible. So motor mounts are on it still. So yeah, I mean, it's a New York motor. But anyway, maybe I might need the harmonic balancer for adapting a pulley of some kind. I'm not sure. Water pump. But yeah, so let me just maybe do some tinkering and cleaning, but here it is. So we're going to get the intake off next, I think. So cool. And I checked that it does rotate, so that's good. I had to pull the flex plate off to get it to clear the engine stand. But yeah, I think I'm happy with this. Not bad for 270 bucks. Some $15 in hardware. These are M10 by 1.5 thread. In case anybody was curious. Cool. Maybe what I'll do is I'll set up a camera back there and just do some shots of me tinkering with it. Okay, it's Sunday, so it's been a few days. I wanted to maybe work on this a little bit more. I haven't touched the motor since you saw it last, so I think what I'm going to do is get set up on the tripod, like I said, and we'll just work on getting the intake off. I think if we can get down to the bare heads, that'll be good. So we'll pull off this bracket and EGR hoses and stuff like that. So let me get you set up and we'll kind of get started. Where should I start first? Alternator bracket, I guess. Looks like we got to take the thermostat out, because that goes right into the head. I think I'm going to try and disconnect the EGR from the manifold. All right, let's try and get this EGR hose disconnected. See how that does. Moved. All right, now I think we're just going to try and take the intake right off, but there's this big bracket in the way. I think we'll work on taking that out next. That should be okay. Now we'll just move on to taking out all the intake bolts that mount to the head. All right, if all goes to plan, should just wiggle on off of here. All the ignition coils are bolted to the intake. So we're going to pull all that out as one piece. Definitely a PI heads for sure. Well, let me get you in here and show you. But yeah, these are PI heads for sure. Gaskets, save those just for templates maybe. All right, now we'll try and clean this off. I think what I should do is, just in case we might want to run this engine, all right, now that it's pretty clean, let's see if our intake manifold in progress fits on here. Yeah. All right, so I got our modified intake on, and there's everything fits okay except there's one major issue. So all our bolt mounting holes line up. You can see the paper towel. The injectors are lined up real nice. We're going to have to get some shorter bolts because the plastic intake is thicker, but just to show that the bolt holes are the same, that works. So same thing on the other side. The thermostat, it seems like the cooling ports on the front of the engine line up perfect. And there's one in there, but you can't see. Yeah, you can see it. It lines up nice, but in the back is where the issue is. On the passenger side, it's nice, but on the driver's side, you can see that there's a difference here with this cooling port. So I'm wondering if I'm going to have to do some sort of machining. What is weld on a block? But other than that, it looks like it's going to work okay. This is a Romeo engine because pretty sure all Panthers got Romeo motors. So I think we're in halfway decent shape. One unexpected thing here with the cooling port. I'm not sure what happened there. I guess I missed that in my research. Not a big deal when you got a machine shop and a welder. Just takes a little bit more time. That's part of the fun is to fix stuff like this. But and then the other thing I wanted to show you is the alternator bracket. This is the bracket that came with the 93 intake, and you can see it's not really going to do anything for us. But this is the bracket that I just removed that came with this engine. And I'll have to, seems like what I could do is I could kind of chop it off right where that raised bump is. And then I could just drill 2 holes in it and run 2 spacers. Because remember, our plate is going to be in there. We're going to have a 1/2 inch plate in there. So next what I want to do is go grab the supercharger and lay it on there and kind of see how it might look. But and I also want to tip the intake up just to kind of compare the ports. I know they're not perfect. Yeah. Can't really see too good in there how the port mismatch may be. But anyway, so let's do that next. Okay, there it is with the supercharger placed on top of it. Now remember, there's going to be one more plate It's going to be one more plate that we have to machine, so it's going to be about a ½ inch higher. But this is basically the main reason why I wanted this engine, because otherwise I would have had to have stripped my car down to this point, get the whole intake system off down to the head, so I can do what I'm doing now. Now, I think what I need to decide next is, do I want to run one belt, or do I want to, you know, run a second belt? And I think both are practical solutions, but if I want to run one belt with it back here, I think I'd have to put some sort of idler pulley right about here, like I was trying to explain before, because right now it just loops down over the alternator to the power steering pump, I believe. Yeah, it goes right there to there. So if I put idler here, the belt could go here around the idler and then down. That could still work, but I'd have to machine some sort of bracket or idler pulley to go here. So fabrication is necessary, but so I think now what I need to do is figure out some of that. All right, so here's just a little bit better representation of what it might come out to be, because I've got both plates in there, just very roughly fit, you know, just to get us in the ballpark. But I think the deciding item is going to be, how much clearance do we have on the back? So I think that's what I got to figure out first. We might have to run it up just because of clearance. All right, so here we are on the car, and I just kind of wanted to get a sense of where the firewall is. So if we look at the last fuel injector, the rearmost fuel injector on the driver's side, it's pretty much directly below the wiper tray. So that'll kind of give us get us in the ballpark as to how far back can our supercharger be, the supercharger elbow. Because ideally, if we just have to move this to here, you know, that would be fine. But I just wanted to see. So now that we know that, let's go back on the engine in the garage. All right, so I've got it placed roughly aligned with our, if we were going to run one belt. And here's our last fuel injector. So that's about, man, I think it's not really going to clear. It's not really going to clear. We'll have to. It might. I mean, the wiper tray doesn't necessarily need. I could always trim it. I could always trim the wiper tray if I had to, or go to the junkyard and just grab another one, and use that as a fabrication. So that's kind of the stuff I'm talking about. So now that I have an idea, maybe what I'll do is I'll go to the junkyard again and I'll grab a wiper tray and an elbow with throttle by wire, throttle body on it, and get those parts and see. Okay, the one more thing I wanted to show you and just confirm is the port shape mismatch. So I was worried that there would be a gross misalignment with the PI heads to the non-PI intake manifold. But as you can see, there's pretty good, we have enough flat material on both the intake and the head where I don't think that's going to be a problem. Once we get our gaskets in there, you know, I think I'll just run the PI gaskets, because the head and the intake seem to follow a fairly similar contour. So I don't think we're going to have a gasket sealing issue, is what I'm trying to say. It seems like I think that our ports should line up okay. Yes, we're going to be boosting from a smaller port into a larger port, but I just want to think about that a little bit more, but I kind of wanted to show you what I'm talking about, you know. So I took the intake off and I brought it inside, and I kind of washed it off just a little bit. Now I'm thinking about this elbow. This is a non-electric, you know, throttle elbow, and it's different. It's got different, you know, it has an idle air control valve, which that's what the throttle by wire cars don't have, because it can just handle that with the throttle plate position. So I think what I'm going to do is go back to the junkyard to one of those two cars. There were two post 04. I think there was an 09 and a 2006, and I'll just go grab the elbow off those cars. So maybe I'll go do that now because it's Sunday and I have time and I won't have to wait another week. All right, we're back at the junkyard again, and I can see the Grand Marquis that they pulled our engine from. Oh, it looks like they took the whole hood off and everything. Let's take a look at it. They put it right back in the spot that it was in. But and here's the car that our engine is from now. Engine's not in here because it's mine. But yeah, you can see there's the hose from the heater core. I wonder if I should take this wiper tray. Since I'm here, I wonder if I should grab it real quick. But we can always come back for that. Let's go to the other one, the one that was down there. I want the throttle body off of it. Yeah, so here's that other Mercury. This one's an 06. An 06, and it's still got the throttle body assembly with the elbow. So let me grab this. Looks like it's just 4 nuts and an AGR hose and all that crap. We'll see. I'll get it off quick though. Hang on. All right, so I grabbed the throttle body and I grabbed both fuel rails. Left the EGR valve. I know the intakes are the same. The intakes are the same for both the 04 and the 2010, but I don't even care because we're replacing the intake. So basically I've essentially converted our 04 to a 2010 by grabbing the fuel injectors because they're different and the fuel rails are slightly different. And I've got the throttle body with the elbow. And you can see where the idle air control valve is just a blank. It's just a blank in the casting. So let's go pay for this stuff and go back home. All right, so here's the 2010 style fuel rail and fuel injectors on the 93 intake. So the spacing is fine. The O-ring holes fit nice. So I have to, and I'm probably going to have to run new injectors anyway, some higher capacity ones, higher pounds per hour than stock. But just to show proof of concept, like I said, I'm going to have to come up with a different way to mount the fuel rail. Like that hole lines up. Yeah, that hole lines up, so we could use that one, I suppose. That should work. I think. Yeah. And then in the back, this hole lines up. So it looks like we just have to make maybe an adapter to go from the front tab to that hole. Or maybe we can even come off our plate here and make something too. So not the end of the world, but just wanted to show you that. This crossover tube we may need to do something with as well, but we'll see. Just minor issues. Okay, now I wanted to show you our 2010 style elbow that we just pulled. So this is where the brake booster vacuum source goes, and it was mounted, you know, like this on the engine. But now we're gonna just rotate it, and we want to kind of mount it. We kind of want to mount it like this. So I guess I don't know what that little foot is for. I don't think we need that. Probably just cut that off. But you know, line up with that hole essentially, and this is about how far back we are. So if we do this, we're pretty far back. We're back about. But you can kind of see what I'm thinking. But that would be okay. We just have to run. I wonder if I could pull this barb out and then just tap that with a pipe tap, and then just run a straight barb down and hook up our brake a brake booster line to that. That would be okay, because that's just going to see engine vacuum. And then our EGR will be, as opposed to being like this, it'll be rotated 90 degrees. So I could probably make an adapter block to rotate it back, and then we could extend the EGR tube, or just minor stuff. But now that we got the parts, we can keep going and make more progress. And then I just grabbed these two hoses in case we need them. Might need them, so I grabbed them. And so now that you see kind of what I'm thinking, I can get to work on the next steps. So I was just looking. I was like, well, what is this threaded hole for, and this hole for? But if you look at the gasket, there's like a piloting feature. So they kind of go on those holes. So that makes me feel better. That's just part of the gasket. So I think I can run just these PI gaskets, and that should be fine. Yeah. Let's go matching up on the bottom of the 93 intake. And then I just wanted to review more with the different ports. So I've got one of this is a PI gasket. So this is off the engine we just worked on. And I think we're going to be okay as far as you can see how much bigger the PI port is compared to the non-PI. And I can understand why, like, the Mustang guys would want to put a PI head on a non-PI head, but when you're doing that, you're going from a larger port to a smaller port. So it's going to be kind of hitting a wall. You know, the boost is, the air traveling down is going to hit like a ledge. It's going to hit the smaller port in the non-PI head. So you would run an adapter plate to kind of smooth out that transition. In our instance, we're doing it the other way. We're going flowing from a small port just into a big port. So you can see how it's just going to be flowing this way, just directly into a larger port. So in theory, I guess I could make these ports larger. You know, I could take, you know, trace this with a Sharpie and port that out. I wonder if I should do that, you know? Just make those ports just bigger. But also, there's these little passages that the PI head doesn't have. And then you can see that on the front of the head, we're good. Here and here, this is fine. This side is, this cooling port would be the rearmost driver side. So it's just dead-ended, just like this one. Rearmost driver's side is dead-ended, but if we put the gaskets the other way, we can see, yeah, we're good up here at the coolant crossover, but at the back of the motor, we're running into. All right, I just wanted to revisit this part of the head where the head has an exposed port. But if I look on the PI head, that port just goes nowhere. It's dead-ended, you know. So there's the heater hose tube on the PI head, and here's the heater hose tube on the non-PI head. So really, we don't need to connect this. All this needs to be is basically, I need to extend the intake so that this port just gets plugged. So all I really got to do is just weld a block on, and then mill my weld flat, you know, and then all we have to do is basically block off that port on the head. So that's much easier. So that's not nowhere near as bad as I thought it was. So we'll still have heat because the heat will go through here, you know. So I just wanted to show that real quick. But anyway, I think that this is a good point to stop. You're kind of seeing what I'm thinking and how far I'm getting. Yeah, I think that's going to be my next steps is figuring out whether I should run it one belt or two belts. They each have their pros and cons, and I'm going to try and figure that out. And then once I do, I'm going to do some machining on the plates. But I think that the scariest part of this is all of the TIG welding that's going to be needed to weld, to seal this plate to the intake. It's going to be a lot of TIG welding, and I'm a little bit nervous about that, but I think we should be able to do it. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'm trying to make some progress on this, as you can see, and stay tuned for episode 4. I think that's what I kind of wanted to cut the video here, and just do a little bit more thinking. But stay tuned, because now that I've got the parts, I should be able to make some progress more quickly. So thanks for watching, and keep your eyes peeled for part number 4. I'll try and get that out a lot quicker than I think it was, 4 or 5 months ago that I put out part 2. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned.